These drills are both Makita 6012HDs, the same make and model that Eddie Van Halen used for Poundcake. In this video I'm going to disassemble them and paint one like the Ibanez Shark guitar and the other one like his Charvel black and yellow Bumble Bee. At the end of the video there will be a link to another video where I do a motor swap in these two. So I'm going to go ahead now, and one of these will be the Shark guitar, and the other one will be the Charvel yellow and black Bumblebee guitar. Pretty good find on eBay. You can tell if you look at the chuck on that one, it's all shiny. I mean, this drill has to be at least 20 years old, and it's in reasonably good shape. This one, it's a little rustier. It's got a little more wear and tear on it. You know, for what I paid, $80 for two drills, I think I ended up with 4 extra batteries. Mostly all of them worked and worked well, and a charger and a hard case. I mean, you know, I'm happy with that, and we're gonna have some fun with it. So right now I'm just gonna take these things apart and I'll show you what they look like on the inside. If you notice that some of the nuts on the other side, if you're having trouble getting them out and you really want them out, I'm kind of a neat freak when it comes to painting stuff. I like all the parts taken off. So what I do is I just put the screw in, leave enough of that lip sticking up so you can actually get the claw of a hammer in there, and very gently just pull straight up, making sure you're pulling straight up, and it just pops right out. So there's the inside of this one. This will be the Shark guitar. Looks a little dry as far as grease goes. I mean, there's a big blob of it here, but I think we'll add a little bit more when we put it back together. But it's weird, half the parts stayed on one side and half the parts stayed on the other. So there's all my Shark guitar, or the Shark paint scheme parts sitting in the drawer, and everything has been taken out. And I double check to make sure every little part is out. Especially this little thing here that sits up in right that little area there. Even though all these drills, I'm sure, are pretty much interchangeable, I'm still going to write on this what it's going to be, so that all the guts that came out of it go back into it. You never know. I mean, you know, maybe somewhere they made a little change in one of these parts, and I don't want to have any trouble getting them back together. Wow, this is the newer one, or the one that looks new. And it's pretty clean on the inside too. Even that motor looks brand spanking new. So yeah, this is a good find. 20-year-old drill, but yet it's brand new. When I was trying to pull this out, this is the little knob on the bottom that controls the clutch, and I was pulling it out very carefully, and it kind of sprung out. And there's a little spring and a ball bearing that fits, and the ball bearing slides around in these little holes. You know, of course, that's the part that's going to fly out on me. And so immediately I went down to the floor looking, and you know, my shop, it does not have the cleanest floor in the world, and I thought I'm never going to find this ball bearing. And then look, right here on a shelf below the table I'm working on, yay, there it is. I tried to scoop out as much grease as I could out of this thing. It's going to help out when I go to clean it. But same as the other one, just going to write what it is so we don't get them mixed up for, you know, there is any difference between them. Yeah, maybe. Okay, the next thing here is to get rid of all that grease that's in each one of these. And I'm using dish soap. I could use a degreaser, but I'm not sure what that's going to do to the plastic. I really hate to ruin all of these right now. So I'm just going to keep scrubbing away at it with this until it gets nice and clean. And that's kind of important because any of that grease gets on the outside, it's going to screw up my paint job. I just finished cleaning these. Spent a lot of time scrubbing all that grease out of all those little crevices. But they're pretty clean, sparkling clean. Can't paint them yet. I have to give the outside a bit of a sand to make sure there's a better surface so the paint will stick to it. But it's coming along. Now that I've got all the grease cleaned out of them and the dirt cleaned off of the outside, I just want to lightly sand them. I've got 220 grit, and I've also got a piece of 320 grit in there. And I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm not too worried about every little speck on here. Mainly what I want to do is there's some rough spots like right there. What I want to do is just smooth that out a little bit to help the paint stick, and especially some of these smooth surfaces. But like I said, I'm not going to go too crazy. Just a quick little run over, and then just wash them again, let them dry, and then we're ready to put some paint on them. Okay, here we go. Just trying to get in all those little nooks and crannies that are everywhere. And this is only the gray where the stripes go, but still you want to make sure you cover as much as possible. I can see a couple of spots that I should have done, and that's, I think, just underneath here and up inside where the trigger goes, so it's kind of hard to get to right now. Yeah, sun's going down. This is what it looks like here. My backyard is getting kind of dark. Ugh. Oh man, it's about as dark as it shows on the video. I'm losing my light. It's that time of year when it gets dark really early. That's November. Yeah, November 3rd. Just lucked out on a couple of nice days. I thought, yep, I'm going to get my drills painted. Here they are, all lined up in a row. Can't wait to get these things taped up, but I have to let this dry, of course. Maybe tomorrow. And the next day, spray some color on it, and then we'll really see some cool stuff. Turned out pretty good. Yeah. So the first one out of the gate that I've got taped up and ready to go is the Shark Guitar theme drill. I tried to copy things that you see on the Shark guitar and kind of stick them in places where they would look good. Obviously it's not guitar shaped, so they're not going to be in the same spots, but I was even thinking about getting a little turnbuckle and sticking it on somewhere, and even cutting a little piece out somewhere so it looks like the part that he cut out, but you know, I don't want to wreck the drill. But there's the paint ready to go. Apparently Eddie came up with the whole drill thing when he was doing some recording, and instead of being in the studio, he was in the control room, and I guess a tech or an engineer or somebody was in there doing some work, and they had one of these drills, and I guess somehow they discovered that it was coming through the pickups, and that's basically how the whole thing started. He bought the Ibanez Destroyer because it was made out of Carina wood. And that was a very rare wood for guitars to be made out of. And I've seen pictures where he's painted it white. And I know at some point he actually went to Charvel and asked them to paint it. They said they were kind of busy. And he decided to do it himself. And that's when he came up with that the weird kind of metallic red and silver paint scheme. And of course then he cut out that big chunk which he said destroyed the guitar, and he's never played it since. It's funny, a lot of people refer to it as the red and white guitar. A lot of people don't realize that it's actually kind of that burgundy wine and silver. But years ago when I first got the Women and Children first album, I thought that was a green guitar because the picture on the album is black and white, and the only other color on the album is green. So somehow I just put two and two together and assumed that it was a green guitar. The Bumble Bee guitar, or the Charvel guitar, the black and yellow, it's of course the guitar that's featured on the Van Halen 2 album on the inside cover. And if you notice the headstock, it says Charvel. That's because Eddie didn't build this guitar. It was built by Grover Jackson, the same guy that built Randy Rhoads' guitar, the Concorde, the Flying V. Except when he built Eddie's guitar, it was before that. So if you look on the headstock, it says Charvel because Grover Jackson actually was part of Charvel at that time before forming Jackson Guitars. Apparently Eddie called up Grover Jackson in the middle of the night because he wanted that guitar for the photo shoot for that album cover, and Grover Jackson's wife delivered it to them early in the morning the next day. That Charvel neck can be seen on a bunch of guitars, or a couple of guitars. That Custom Dragon guitar, and the other guitar is the Frankenstrat. When it had that black headstock, you can see a piece of tape covering the Charvel logo. So of course now this is the guitar that's buried with Dimebag. So a lot of history with this guitar. Okay, here we go. It's time to untape these drills. It's kind of exciting. It's like Christmas morning unwrapping presents. Which one to start first? Actually, let's go with the shark because I did that one first. This little piece here at the bottom was kind of hanging off, and I was trying not to just rip the thing out to see what it looked like. Ew, pretty cool. So far I think it's looking pretty good. It's looking like the way I kind of wanted it to look. This part's basically the upper, what do you want to call it, fin. The part that just above where he cut out. This is the part that I kind of call this the dick and balls shape, because on Eddie's guitar down near the lower tone knob, he's got this kind of weird shape, and it kind of looks like a dick and balls. But I decided to put it up on the top of the drill where the speed setting is, the high and low setting. So I thought it kind of suited that area. One thing about the shark guitar. Eddie does a lot of weird things that you don't see on other guitars that he painted. Like on the back, these 4 stripes that he had in the back of the shark guitar. That little kind of weird thing that goes between the down near the volume and tone knobs. Little bits of tape that he just randomly put along the edges of the guitar, and he'd just rip off the tape. He wouldn't even cut it. You don't see that kind of stuff on any of the other, like the 5150 guitar or even the Frankenstrat. Only one thing left to do on here is take off that little bow tie or seagull or weird shape. People call it all kinds of stuff, but he does that on a lot of guitars. Okay, pretty cool. I like it. Turned out well. Can't wait to get it put back together. Pretty nice, pretty sweet. I'm ready to take the tape off of the Bumble Bee drill. I don't know if I can really get the look on here, try to capture it, but it looks kind of cool with the tape just left on it. Almost looks kind of stealthy. Almost makes me want to get another drill just to do that. So I just basically did this freehand, and I thought it was going to be kind of easy because it's just stripes. But it turned out to be kind of difficult. It took me a long time, but I think this one might actually turn out a little bit better. I don't know. We'll see. See in a few seconds. Yeah, about halfway done now, and you can kind of tell, definitely see the look of the Bumble Bee guitar. I think it's kind of cool. Quite a ways to go yet. Just a few more stripes to take off. It's turning out really, really cool. How can you go wrong with black and yellow? The only thing left really is the upper horn, the way he has those stripes kind of going along, and I thought that was the best place to do that. Oh, there they are. They're all untaped, and I'm pretty excited. I think these turned out well. A little more bleed through on the Bumble Bee than I would have liked, but that's what you get when you wait until the fall to do a project. I had the paint early on in the summer, and I just kept putting this off with other projects, but finally got it done, but I'm pretty happy. And it's going to look a lot better when it's all assembled anyways. Time to reassemble the bee. I've got all the parts laid out. This little piece of plastic right here, that holds the chuck key in, and that fits right in here. That little piece of plastic just slides right in. Just push it in. Don't forget to put that one in. They'll get it all built, all put back together, and then you'll see that thing sitting there. Okay, so this is the clutch knob where you set the clutch. There's a little plastic piece, the square piece, and it's got a hole in it, and that's where the spring goes. You can see it right there. So right now I'm just holding these pieces together. You can see the ball bearing right there. If I let go, it'll fall apart. If you just push it right into that little square piece right in here, that'll hold it together. There we go. Right in there, ready to go. This is the next part I'm going to put on, and I have to do it without the phone because I have to compress this part and then get it fitting into this space here. One thing you got to be careful not to lose this little ring, and that just sits right on the end of the bearing, and the grease will hold it on, but make sure it doesn't fall off. Okay, there it is. My My little washer, that little ring is in place, so that didn't fall out. One thing I didn't mention is if you set the clutch at 1, it gives you a little more room to push the spring in. And this little flat piece, there's one on both sides, and that has to fit in that part on both sides of the body. So that's in there, and then next we'll put, I guess, the chuck in. The chuck is pretty straightforward. There's a bearing, and then that fits right in that space right on the end of the front of the body. It's obvious. There's a spring and then another little ring. So the ring fits on pushing the spring down, and then there's a little brass bushing, and the brass bushing fits right in this little space here. Chuck's in. Don't put grease in that space where the bearing goes, because that's supposed to hold on to the bearing. But put some grease on here, on that bushing. And I'm going to just throw some grease in there before I put the rest of the parts in and close it up. The high-speed knob, that little pin just fits between the 2 gears, and then there's a groove that fits in that that space here at the top is a groove. So it's just should be able to push right in. Okay, there we go. Pushed right in. And then this piece of metal, it's got a little kink in it. That kink should point like an arrow towards the knob, and it fits right back in. Fits right back in that little space right there. Okay, there, and then we're ready to go. I popped the motor in and I greased it up. Don't ask me what kind of grease it is. I just saved the grease that was in it. It was in pretty good shape, so I just put it in a little container to hold on to, and put it back in the same spots. Got the gears all covered up, and ready to put these 2 halves together. So an easy way to get these nuts back into these little slots here, these little hex holes, is just leave this, the nut on the end of the screw, and then just back it off, and it's in there and ready to go. They will fall out, so you got to be kind of careful, but it's an easy way of getting them back in there. That's all put back together. Looks pretty cool. Looks nice sitting beside the red, black, and white one. Sounds good. Yeah. I'm all ready to put the shark drill back together. Got all the parts laying out here. This was the more used drill that I got off of eBay. The one that I used for the Bee was basically a brand new drill, even though it's obviously has to be at least 20 years old since they discontinued these in '95. But this one is actually, I think, newer in production because they replaced wires on the motor and they put these copper strips on, which are a lot more durable. But anyways, other than that, it's pretty much basically the same drill. But these were all the parts that came out of it, so excited to get this put back together, and then I'll have all 3 ready to go. I didn't go over every single step like I did with the other ones. It's pretty straightforward. It's the same thing. Just got it greased up. All I got to do is put the other half on and get it all screwed back together. Can't wait to hear what it sounds like. It's all assembled. Just got to put that battery in. See what it sounds like. There we go, all 3 of them together, and they're all working great. Got fresh batteries in all of them, nicely charged up here. Sounds good, looks good. It's going to be great having 3 drills. It was a lot of fun having my original red, white, and black one for all these years, and it's going to be really cool having these other 2 as part of the collection. And you never know, maybe I'll just one day pick up another couple of drills and come up with another paint scheme. This is kind of habit forming. Cool. Thanks for watching.